Have you ever watched a child play with a plain cardboard box and wondered why they seem so much happier with that piece of trash than you feel with your expensive new phone? It is a strange thing to see a small person turn a living room floor into a sea of hot lava or a simple kitchen spoon into a magic wand that can freeze time. We often look at these moments and smile because we think it is just a cute phase of life that children eventually grow out of. We believe that becoming an adult means putting away those silly games and trading our imagination for a set of serious responsibilities. We learn to value logic and facts, and we focus on things like productivity and career goals. But as we get older, we often start to feel a sense of heaviness. The world begins to feel a bit gray and the days start to blend together into a long list of chores and emails. We forget that the ability to play was not just a childhood hobby but a vital tool for making sense of a difficult world. What if the lessons we are trying to teach the children in our lives are actually the very things we need to learn ourselves? We are going to explore how the stories we tell our kids can act as a powerful mirror for our own adult struggles. We will look at why the most important part of growing up might be learning how to be a beginner again. We will see how play is not a distraction from reality but a different way of seeing it that can save us from burnout and bitterness. It is a journey from being a rigid teacher to becoming a curious student of life. On the surface, we believe that children are the students and adults are the experts. The surface concept here is that a kids' show is meant to teach a child basic rules like sharing toys or eating green vegetables. We look at these stories and think they are simple because the characters are bright and the jokes are easy to understand. On the surface, it seems like the role of a parent or a teacher is to be perfect and to have all the answers. We assume that if we show emotion or admit that we are struggling, we are failing in our duty to lead. This surface view tells us that the world is divided into people who know things and people who are learning things. We see a clear line between the world of play and the world of work. We think that play is what you do when the work is finished, but for an adult the work is never really finished. This surface level of thinking keeps us trapped in a cycle of stress where we feel we must always be in control. We assume that the wisdom of a story is only for the little ones in the room while we sit in the back and check our watches. Behind this surface view of education lies a hidden assumption that growing up means losing our sense of wonder. We often assume that as our brains develop we should move away from pretend games and move toward the cold hard truth of the world. But the hidden truth is that imagination is a form of resilience. We assume that the adult characters in a story should be background figures who only exist to give advice. The hidden reality is that adults are just as vulnerable and confused as children. We assume that a mistake made by a grown-up is a sign of weakness when the hidden truth is that it is a powerful teaching moment for everyone involved. There is a hidden assumption that the mundane parts of life like waiting for a bus or cleaning the house are inherently boring. However, the hidden reality is that anything can be a source of novelty if we approach it with a different mindset. We assume that we have to protect children from the complexities of life like health issues or work-life balance. But the hidden truth is that discussing these things openly helps build a bridge of empathy between generations. This hidden logic suggests that the most effective way to nurture a child is to let them see us as human beings who are also still growing. It turns the home into a laboratory of shared experiences rather than a classroom with a strict hierarchy. This leads us to a structural pattern of how we organize our lives around the idea of seriousness. We see a pattern where we measure our success by how well we have mastered our environments. This is a structural habit of the adult brain that likes to label everything. A swing is just a swing. A box is just a box. This structure of labeling helps us move quickly, but it robs us of the chance to see the hidden potential in our surroundings. We see a structural pattern in media where children are often shown as small adults in training while adults are shown as finished products. This structure ignores the fact that aging is a daunting process that requires constant adaptation. Another structural pattern is our tendency to separate our emotional lives from our professional lives. We have built a world where being professional means being a bit like a machine. When we see a father or a mother in a cartoon struggle with their own emotions, it breaks this structural expectation and offers us a new way to be. It shows us a pattern of honesty where a whole family can learn a lesson together. By recognizing these patterns, we can see that our insistence on being serious is actually a structural barrier to our own happiness. We can reframe our entire perspective by seeing play as a high-level cognitive skill rather than a childish distraction. Instead of seeing a child pretending to be a dinosaur as a waste of time, we can reframe it as a masterclass in creative problem-solving. We can reframe our own mistakes not as failures but as essential parts of the story we are telling together. Reframing the mundane parts of our day means looking for the game hidden inside the task. If a piece of cardboard can be a volcano, then a long commute can be a voyage to a new planet. This shift in perspective allows us to reclaim the wonder that we thought we had lost. We can reframe the act of teaching as a two-way street where the curiosity of a child helps us unlock the parts of our own hearts that have become dusty. This perspective shift takes the pressure off us to be perfect. It allows us to be messy and emotional and to admit that we do not always know the way. When we reframe our relationship with time and health as a shared journey, we find more reassurance and less fear. Applying this to your daily life starts with the very simple act of trying to find enjoyment in the boring stuff. You can apply the idea of the cocoon by looking at a regular object in your house and trying to imagine 3 different things it could be. This is a form of mental exercise that keeps your brain flexible. You can apply the practice of emotional honesty by telling the people in your life when you are feeling overwhelmed or when you have made a mistake. This creates a sanitary environment for the soul where everyone feels safe to be real. Apply this by joining in on a game instead of just watching from the sidelines. Even if your developed frontal lobe tells you that it is silly, try to follow the logic of the pretend world for just 5 minutes. You can apply the principle of wonder by noticing the small changes in your neighborhood or the way the light hits a tree. This is not just about being happy, it is about staying connected to the world around us. In your workplace, you can apply this by looking for novelty in your routine. Instead of seeing a meeting as a chore, try to see it as a chance to create something new with others. By building these small moments of play into your day, you are practicing a form of self-care that goes deeper than just resting. You are training yourself to be resilient in the face of the daunting parts of aging and health. It is helpful to remember that we are all mortals with a limited number of weeks to live. We should not spend all of those weeks being so serious that we forget how to laugh. The most successful people are often those who never lost their ability to see a volcano in a piece of cardboard. They are the ones who can fall down and get back on the bike because they see the fall as part of the game. We can be the bridge builders for the next generation by showing them that growing up does not mean losing your magic. It means gaining the strength to protect that magic even when life gets hard. We are moving from a world of rigid roles to a world of shared learning. The lessons of a kids' show are not just for kids because the struggles of being human belong to all of us. When we embrace our mistakes and our emotions, we give everyone else permission to do the same. This is how we cultivate resilience in our families and our communities. We are all just characters in a very large and complex story, and we have the power to decide if the next chapter will be a boring lecture or a grand adventure. If you could go back and tell your younger self that it is okay to keep playing even when you are a grown-up, which part of your current serious life would you turn into a game first?